We're creating a tier list for the most played commanders in the entire format.
I'm Mia, and I like to wrap my holiday gifts in gift bags.
I'm BZ. I went to college for 4 years, and we're the Nitpicking Nerds. Sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. You can use code
NERDS
at checkout when you're buying the cards that you were going to buy anyway through the site. You save 5% on your order. That's pretty huge. That's like real tangible dollars that we're just trying to save you. You just got to use code NERDS.
That's 1/20th of your entire budget. We're also sponsored by Dragon Shield, best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
If you want to save 1/20th on your order too, and 5% of your real money tax dollars, you can use the code
NERDS
at checkout to save that money.
Yes, exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. Moxfield, there's an ad somewhere in the video. Guess where it is? You're lying. I don't even know if you, even if you get it wrong, you're lying this time. Just get ready for that. And happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today. So this is the most popular 25 commanders in the entire format. We're doing them a tier list based on how fun they are to play with and how fun they are to play against. I imagine power also factors in. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think just the design overall. I think it's really important to see fun too.
Yeah, so this is definitive. Yep, there's no other tier lists that you'll ever need to look at. This is the one.
But for Nitpicking Nerds tier list, we're going to have to go small.
How do we do that?
We're going to go like this.
And now we're small. Oh, look, a computer. And now we can start this tier list. We're going to go alphabetically as we always do, and we're going to start off with Animar. Animar gets counters when you play creatures. It's got protection from white and black for some reason. They just kind of threw that on there, and it's a really powerful like morph commander, counters commander, cost reducer type thing.
I think it's been really good from the few times that I've seen it. I actually don't know that many people with an Animar deck. I think the pro white and pro black does make it pretty annoying to remove, though.
I think that coupled with how often these decks go infinite with like kind of a ham sandwich, because when you make your creatures cost 0, if they're colorless, you can reduce them to 0, and then there's plenty of creatures that from that point that just win you the game. This feels like a C. I got
fun.
like C vibes. Yeah, like I don't love the design. I don't think it's that fun to play against. I don't find the decks that inspired, but it's not offensive.
Yeah, I lost a game to this because it went infinite, and I was playing a Mardu deck, so almost all of my removal was white or black, so it just negated like 2/3 of my deck.
How enjoyable is that? That's great. Let's go to Arcades. Probably a little bit more fun. This is like the Defender Butts deck. All your defenders draw cards. They deal damage equal to toughness, and that just seems super sweet to me.
I think that's pretty fun. It's like a little weird, not something that people would normally build around. It's not just like a viable strategy that's like already there. I think it could be up in the tier list.
Up in the tier list? Maybe A, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, we can move it around later, but
Yeah.
if Animar's C, it's definitely not a C.
Yeah, I feel like he's leaps and bounds cooler and more enjoyable than Animar. Let's go to the next one, Atraxa. This is a card that you play, and
Yes.
this is a deck that could be a variety of things. She
Yes.
proliferates. That's all she does. And so you can make Planeswalkers, +1s, charge counters, some other counter, filibuster counters. You go for it.
I think the fact that this can be played so many ways is we're going to have to take an average of those if we're going by fun and like coolness, considering I know a lot of people don't like to play against poison. It is a higher like powered mechanic, but if you're going just like planeswalkers or something, that might be lower. 1/1 counters can kind of range in between power levels.
So maybe poison, that deck, the one that you play, keeps this from being S tier. Maybe we just move it to A tier. I don't find Atraxa to be like overpowered. Like I think this card is so fair, and it is like so unjustly overhyped. It's like, oh my god! Like maybe the deck is good, but 4/4 for 4 that proliferates. Yeah, that's fine. It's okay.
Keyword soup too. I mean, You're usually not getting Atraxa beats as your like win con with commander damage. So
I think it's fine. Yeah, Atraxa's cool. Good job. Maybe they didn't see that coming, the audience. Next is Chatterfang. Whenever you make tokens, you also get a squirrel, and you can sack squirrels to kill stuff.
I think Chatterfang's annoying.
I think Chatterfang is annoying. This to me represents Wizards taking the squirrel archetype that was kind of on the fringe, kind of in like the unsets exclusively, and it was also like squirrels sucked. They weren't good. So this is like the modernification of squirrels of like, oh, now they're just good cards. There's nothing really that interesting about them. They make tokens. Sure, you can have all the squirrels you want. And it's like, and also squirrels are great, and also these cards are good by themselves, and they just happen to be squirrels. Like, I miss the scrappy days of the squirrels.
I feel like every single time I hear a Chatterfang commander like pull out their deck, they're always like, 15 squirrels can kill an Emrakul. Like I always hear that, and it makes me like Chatterfang so much less. Just like because I've heard that so many times.
Do we want to stick him in B?
He can be in B.
All right, B tier for Chatterfang. -1 for the raw power, and like it's not that cool that it's a squirrel, and -1 for the squirrel joke of 15 squirrels in Emrakul. Next, Edgar Markov. Oh, another one of the top 25 commanders that Mia has a deck of? What does this one do?
It creates a 1/1 vampire, whether it's in the command zone or on the battlefield, every time you cast a vampire. And if you attack with him, which you probably won't, he gives all your vampires +1/+1 counters.
Yes, legend says if you attack with him, you get +1 counters, but no one will ever know. It just kind of poops out commanders from the command zone. Eminence is an extremely lame, horrible design space. I hate it. This card isn't broken. I don't hate this card. I just hate the ability. Because it's kind of silly.
I think Eminence is really broken. However, I think that this is going to be maybe a hot take. I think Edgar decks are often not good.
Why is that?
Because I think there are too many non-vampires in them, and it's clogging them up, and so it bricks pretty fast.
So you think an Edgar deck with 25 vampires is like can actually be pretty bad, but you want like 45 vampires?
Yeah, I think that it has the potential to be really good, and I think it has the potential to be so bad.
Yeah, I have never really been too offended by an Edgar deck. You want to stick it in B, maybe?
Sure.
We'll go even above Chatterfang. Sorry, buddy. Next is Esika, technically, but really no one's ever going to cast that. It's the Prismatic Bridge. On your upkeep, you flip to get a creature or planeswalker, and you put it out for free. So this is like Wooburg, good stuff. But this one doesn't strike me as annoying. Maybe I haven't played against it enough, but I just think, all right, they're going to cheat some mana.
I think it's fine. I think it's forgettable, in my opinion.
Forgettable Wooburg. People do this in like planeswalker decks where you can only flip to hit planeswalkers. That's cool. Where do you want to put it? There's not much to say, right? This card asks nothing of you.
Like,
doesn't really say to do anything.
Like, I'm not.
Like, it's just whatever.
I'm not mad.
It's cooler than Animar, I think, for sure. Next is Giada, one of the only monocolored commanders on here. Angel, Kindred. She pumps your angels and makes them like very worth their mana for power, but then you got to figure out how to draw cards so that you don't just die to a board wipe.
Honestly, I'm really happy to see an Angel Commander not costing like 7, 8, 9 mana. It's a really nice change.
I think this is the best Angel Commander, full stop. The fact that you have a 2-mana dork every time to ramp into your 4s and 5s and 6s is just so critical. Plus, it makes them bigger. Giada's great. Joe Cherry's had a Giada deck for a while. I think they still do. And it just kind of like always dominated the board in the first early turns, but it was never broken. You want to just stick it in S tier? Like, what did Giada do that was wrong, you know?
Yeah, I'm not mad at Giada.
Just a great card. It's a great design. It's not broken by any means. Gishath, the dinosaur commander, when it hits, you flip and you hit dinosaurs and you put them in play, and then it's like it costs 1,000 mana.
I think that's cool. I mean, you're cheating mana, but like he's a big boy, so it takes a little bit to get there.
I don't know if there's anyone out there who thinks this card is like broken or lame. I would like to talk to you because I don't know. This feels like the most Timmy commander. Whatever they put out with Gishath's combat trigger, can't attack. You get the whole turn to answer it.
Just wait till I untap.
Yeah, is this another S tier?
Yeah, it's fine.
Just a great design. I love it. Go Shintai of Life's Origin. This makes shrines. You know what this is? This is scrollification of shrines, because shrines used to be janky, and it's like, oh my god, you're playing a Hamdan of Infinite Rage? How are you going to make that work? And now it's like, here's 7 shrines. All your shrines are now powered up to the maximum, and it returns enchantments. So you can just play good stuff. You don't even have to play shrines. But, here's a busted card for your janky archetype that now I think is so good that I'm scared of the shrines deck just because of this card. I'm not scared of your shrines. I'm just scared of how pushed this card is.
Yeah, it's a really good commander, but a lot of times that we see, or at least I see this card, it's split between gates and shrines.
Gates too, really?
Yeah, I've seen gates be incorporated a lot into the Go Shintai decks.
I really don't like this card.
Maze's End.
I think they pushed it, and it's not fun. I don't find this card enjoyable. Where would you put it?
I think it's fine. I think maybe C. Do you want to put it lower?
I want to stick this guy in D.
Sure.
I just boy, do I not. I look at this card and I feel nothing. I feel like, oh, it's a pushed magic card that makes a really cool niche synergy just lame. Let's go to Ishin, one of the most popular commanders. He's 5th most because he doubles attack triggers.
I think Ishin is so cool considering you have the ability to build him really budget if you just want samurai if they attack alone, you can just
Yeah.
do that for like $10. And if you just want to do something really like beefy and high powered, you also can. I think he's really awesome.
Ishin's cool. I have found this deck to be like a lot of interesting cards. Like Hero of Bladehold is in here, you know, like a bunch of weirdos that like, oh, they draw a card when they attack, and you maybe never even seen it before. You get like the Titans, like Sun Titan and Inferno Titan, and what's the other Titan? The black one? What is?
I don't know.
Is there a black one?
No,
there might not
no,
be.
I think they missed that one in the
If
cycle.
there was a
actually.
Black Titan, you could play it in this deck. Ishin's super cool. I don't know if he's like top 5 commanders of all time cool. I don't know why that exactly is, but I'd probably put him maybe like A tier. What do you think?
I think A or S. I think he's fair.
Let's stick him in S tier. You know, he's just a great design. He's cheap. He doesn't. You know what's refreshing about Ishin is he's not the enabler staple to the payoff. If he was like, when he attacks, you draw a card, and then it's like, oh, well, when he attacks, I get 2 of them. That to me is less exciting and creates less tension in Magic than when it's like, okay, here's my enabler. When I attack with other stuff, he gets to like go off, but he doesn't just do it himself. Like that's what I feel about Chatterfrang and Ghost Shintai and like. Bleh.
I like the fact too that you have to build your deck very specifically for this card too, considering it's like you can't just throw in good stuff. I mean, you could just do removal, but you also have to have that many attack triggers, or else your commander's just basically useless.
Yeah, then you just kind of miss out on a card. Let's go to Joda. Joda's one of the most hated commanders ever. He gives your other commanders like Cascade, or Legendary's Cascade, basically. But the thing that just kind of sneaks up on people is the +X, where like X is your legends to all of your legends. Joda doesn't say other, so if you just play Joda and have nothing else in play, he's a 6/6. I don't like that kind of like sneaky, weird rules text. So it's a little like clunky, but holy crap. The real thing is when you have 5 legends out, your creatures get +5/+5 because they're all going to be legends, and then you just run people over with this.
Joda is so powerful, and Joda is so boring.
Because he doesn't really ask like past
Anything
legends.
of you.
You could do whatever you want. You could play like basically since he's Wooburg, pick any of these legends we just talked about, build a deck around that thing with all the other legends that do that type of thing, and then you've got a deck, and they just cascade into each other. And boy, do we want to make a statement?
Sure.
Are we here to make a statement? Joda,
Yeah.
welcome to poop tier, my
I
friend.
think this is so boring. Every time I see a Joda deck, I go, "Oh, okay, cool."
Oh, all right.
Well, I guess I'm just gonna. You're not gonna have your commander then.
I hope you don't like having Joda in play, because I'm gonna try to kill it like every chance I get. Because as soon as I don't, I'm just gonna lose.
Yeah, it's one of those kill on sight commanders, but it's also one that's just gonna overtake the game if I let it sit for even half a second.
Yeah, Joda, we've explained ourselves here, and maybe I would put it in D tier, but we're going to trigger the people who just skip to the end to see what the tier list looks like, and they're like, Joda's in poop tier, I gotta rewind. Gotcha. How about Kalia, another one of the most popular commanders? You actually have a Kalia deck, isn't that weird?
I have 2 Kalia decks,
Yes.
actually.
Tell me about Kalia.
Kalia's, every time she attacks, you're going to put an angel, dragon, or demon from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking.
Yeah, what do you think about it?
I mean, I think that it is a commander of the olden days, per se. Like, it was a lot scarier back in the day before power creep, and now it's still very good, but it's more nostalgic than anything else, because I think there are more powerful things to come out in recent times.
The removal's better. It's less likely that you just play Orzhov Signet on turn 2, Kalia on turn 3, and you get to attack with it no problem.
Yeah, like, that was back in the day when I could run Whisper Silk Cloak in here.
And have no problems, yeah.
Yeah, because it was fine to spend that much mana, and because of power creep and stuff, 5 mana can be spent on, like, I don't know, Joda.
Yeah, now you're playing Joda, and you just look at you like, oh, well. She has a Kalia, he has a Joda. I would have killed the Joda. Yeah, Kalia is super sweet. The coolness factor on this card, I think, is something that Wizards has been like unable to replicate in a way. There was a little thread on Twitter about this, about how like a bunch of girls were talking about how like, why is this like the girl? Why does every girl think this commander is awesome? And it's like, I think it's just like she's like a goth. And it's like, here's the 3 coolest creature types, and she looks so badass. She's like, I'm gonna kill you. She's super cool.
I think mine was because I started on Edgar, and I was a big Mardu player to begin with.
Yeah, you're big on Mardu.
And then I was like, whoa, like all these expensive cards. I could cheat out Brazella and stuff, which is one of the cards that got me into Magic.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, whoa, this could really do it all. It's so cheap, but like I'll never spend that much on a Magic card. She's like $30.
Yeah, good thing you never did. So Kalia, where do you want to put it? I'll let you just totally grade this. No bias here. Put it wherever you want.
I'll put it in like A tier. I think
A tier, top of A tier?
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Kalia's awesome. Kenrith, returned king, Kenrith. Okay, he has 5
Kenny K.
abilities. They're like worded like they're group hug, but you're just gonna selfishly choose yourself. I think off the top of my head, trample, counters, life, cards, and reanimating creatures into play, which works really well when you want to reduce his cost with like Biomancer's Familiar or Training Grounds or something, or Zerda, which you know are all going to be in this deck. Heartstone maybe is another one. Then you just spam all these abilities. I think Kenrith is like the go-to Woober commander now that Golos was maybe
taken from us too soon.
He was taken from us too soon. I don't know if it was justified, but he is banned. But that does just kind of push Kenrith to, you're building good stuff? Well, now instead of Golos, you're playing Kenrith. Is Kenrith a better card than Golos? Yeah, I think so. So I'm not really... Kenrith's about as easy to cast as Golos, so I'm not really sure what the difference is, which is maybe why I'm not really advocating to ban Kenrith, so I guess I'm advocating to unban Golos.
Hot take. I mean, not from me, but in general.
Yeah, what a hot take to unban that card.
That's a lukewarm take, BZ.
What do you feel about Kenrith? When you see a Kenrith deck, what do you think?
I think it's going to be group hug usually,
Really?
and I think that you're going to get annoyed instantly.
What percentage of Kenrith's decks are group hug? I would say like 4%.
I don't think it's a high percentage, but if someone says they have a group hug deck, I think they're going to pull out Kenrith.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I just think of this card as completely selfish, and it's gonna like blow you out of the water. I really don't find this card interesting.
I put it in D.
You want to put it in D?
C or D.
C or D. Let's go bottom of C. You know, but Kenrith, not the coolest commander. You know, I'm not gonna give you any coolness points. I'm never gonna play. That's not true. I was going to say, I'm never going to play against the Kenrith deck and go, wow, that was a cool deck. But I did play against one deck that was like, it wasn't quite group hug, but it was like the Monarch and all of these like decisions and attacking cards. That was a cool
like
deck.
Thematic.
That was a cool deck, yeah. If you're building a theme deck, great. If you're going to try to tell me that you've got the exciting Kenrith deck and there's no theme, that's not the case. That's not the case. Corvold, another really pushed commander. When you sacrifice a permanent, he draws a card. And like for power, heck yeah, Corvold's amazing. Definitely a headache on the battlefield, though.
Yeah, this just has so much explosive potential. You have to be so worried when you see a Corvold. I think this is like the staple commander for Jundam out.
Yeah, and also like treasures are really strong. When you generate treasures, they draw you cards, but they also make mana because that's just what they do. So like they're the best token, that and gold or whatever, to like constantly make, and you make treasures, which draw you cards to cast more cards and make treasures, and sometimes there's infinites involved. Kind of draws your deck and is one of those hyper push cards that you have to just get off the battlefield. You can't win, really.
Yeah, it's just so strong. You have basically everything stapled onto one creature.
Yeah, how do we feel about Corvold? I don't like Corvold.
You could put him wherever.
I think I'll put him in D, but the people want to know what you think. Where would you put him?
I mean, I'm not as low on him as you are, but I definitely think C is about where I'd put him, so D's fine.
So let's even out at bottom of C.
I mean, top of D is fine too. I know how strongly you feel.
It's okay. You know, I don't like you, Corvold, but to make up for Joda in poop tier, we'll move him to C tier. That's how tier lists work, right?
Yeah.
He's paying for the crimes of a different commander. Okay, next is a card that you may have seen comments about in our videos.
It whispers.
Krenko Mob Boss. There's this person, our friend Eric, who comments on almost every video he watches, just something random, and then it has Krenko Mob Boss in it. And for some reason, those comments usually get like 50 likes.
I'm happy that you guys also like the Krenko Mob Boss comments.
Yeah, this guy taps and makes a goblin for each goblin you control. So it's like geometric growth, but it's like really gets out of hand, especially when you start untapping it.
Yeah, I really think that this and Muxus are the two best Goblin commanders, but this is the OG. This is like everyone starts off and just like, oh, I'm playing my mono red deck. Oh, what is it, Perforos or Krenko?
Like this, I think, is possibly the most common first commander deck ever. I'm not sure why. Again, I don't know, but I think that's just a thing. Like it's a
I think
meme.
it's easy.
Yeah, maybe it is just easy. It's simple to grasp. It's not even expensive. I think this card's like $1.
Yeah, I think it got reprinted a few times.
How do we feel about Krenko?
I think he's fine. I'm never mad to see
You think every commander's fine? How
well,
do you feel about it? Give me some emotion.
I'm never mad to see a Krenko deck. It gets out of hand so quickly, but that's just goblins, right? That's just like an aggro strat.
I need one emotion that you associate with Krenko. Besides, not mad doesn't count because that's a lack of, that's a lack of emotion.
I think he's explosive. I think he's like very like you gotta snipe him immediately. But I'm.
What's your emotion? You're what?
I'm I'm fine with Krenko. I'm
fine. That's not an emotion.
I'm gonna put him in B. I think he's good.
I'm not
A,
grading
maybe.
him. I'm not grading Krenko until you give me an emotion that you associate with Krenko.
Nostalgic?
I don't even think that counts, but I'm gonna put him in. What we want, B?
Yeah, I think B's fine.
B. If
I think B's good.
okay, how about this? If Krenko Mob Boss gets 100 likes on a comment, I'll go back in time and put him up to A tier.
Okay.
And if he gets 1,000, I'll go back in time and put him up to S tier. And then you can rewatch the video, and it'll probably be in there.
Probably.
Next is one of the most popular commanders of all time, Lathril. Now, Mia, you actually have a Lathril deck. I don't have any decks on here, but you seem to like these top commanders.
Honestly, I did have a Lathril. I have a Lathril deck, and I bought it just as a pre-con. But one of my first decks, if not my first deck, was Elf Ball. So I have a special place in my heart for it, and I decided to shove all of those cards that I was very nostalgic for into this deck.
What does Lathril do?
Lathril is a 2/3 with Menace for some reason, and when she hits you, she's going to make 1/1 elves depending on how hard she hit you. And if you tap her and tap 10 other elves, each opponent loses 10 and you're going to gain 10.
That part gets really, really rough when you untap your permanents each turn with a Seaborn Muse or a Quest for the Renewal or like 1,000-Year Elixir type stuff. It could get really hairy. Yeah, Lathril's sweet. This is the black-green Elf Ball commander everybody wanted because there was like Nath, and he sucks. He doesn't do anything for elves. He's like so uninteresting and doesn't like give you that snowball effect that you want. So this is like, I love this card.
Yeah, Nath is powerful in its own deck, but not as an Elf Ball commander, I think. So
yeah,
this
it's
is
just lame.
This is really sweet. It fuels itself though, which probably makes it a little less cool.
That just means it's a modern Magic card. I think.
Look,
I'm open to A tier.
Sure,
I'm open to it. Let's throw it right here because Elf
BZ
Ball
said it, not me.
Yeah, I said it. Lathril A tier. Mia is complacent. She's helpful. Like she's an accomplice.
Yeah, I'm an accomplice, but VZ said it first, so you can't just tell me that I'm putting all my commanders in A tier.
Oh right, yeah. Traxa, Kalia, Lathril.
VZ
Edgar's in B though.
Yeah.
So that makes it fair. Miram, Sentinel Worm, 6/6 clones your other dragons, and it even breaks the sanctity of Legendary. Now, if you play a Legendary after Miram, you get a second one and it stays out. Or if you clone Miram, you get 2 more Mirams, and the next time you'll get 1, 2, 4 of the thing. It's like, whoa.
I think it's a great card, and I think it's boring. I accidentally won one of the Commander Cube drafts because I drafted this and hate drafted a bunch of clone stuff before drafting this, and it's so easy to win. It's too easy to win.
Yeah, this card actually put a little bit of a damper on Baldur's Gate Limited because it was the best It was the best card in the set. I think it was the best card in the set, full stop. The card you would most pick one, pack one because it was busted. But you also would never win the game, so it kind of guaranteed that you would lose your game. It was really, really weird.
It puts a target on your head.
Yeah, this card, it's just great. I do think it's kind of boring and like it pushes it a little bit too much where I'm like, no, I don't want you to untap with Miram. I'm going to, of course I'm going to play my Curtain's Call and pay for the ward, which this has, or play my Soul Shatter and take it out. I'm going to do it every time. D?
Yeah, I also don't think that dragons needed any other help.
No,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that later, but
dragons did not need help, but it does need Moxfield.com. If you want to build a Kenrith deck, and you want to build an Atraxa deck, and you want to build a Ghost Shintai deck, and before the table you want to say, or like when you sit down for Rule 0, you go, it's not that deck, I swear. Opponents can call you on your BS by saying, what's your Moxfield? They'll check your Kenrith deck, see that it's only Rhystic Study, Smothering Tithe, Zerta the Dawnwaker, and Thassil's consult combo.
4-card deck.
Yeah, and they'll go, wait a second, that's BS. I don't think so. Thanks, Moxfield, for letting me just do that, letting me so easily check you and see that it actually is that Kenrith deck. It actually is that Atraxa deck. You're going to play Glistener Elf on turn 1, aren't you?
Absolutely, and you can check on my Moxfield because all of the commanders that we listed that I have on here are on our Moxfield.
Yeah, just go check it out and realize that Moxfield, look, you knew this was coming. It's S tier.
Yeah,
sorry, Giada.
It's better than any other commander.
Yeah, no, it's the best commander that's come out in decades, at least 3 decades.
At least.
Yeah, all right, Muldrotha. It's once per turn you can cast a permanent from each type from your graveyard. That's really strong, but this card is not the classic enabler plus payoff that a lot of these are, because it only says once your graveyard's full, I will do everything you've ever wanted. But you got to fill the graveyard yourself. It doesn't say Eminence whenever you cast a spell, mill a card.
I think the shenanigans in here are real. I think it's fun.
It's really good. The card that has some infinites, but I think that paying 6 mana for a 6/6 that does nothing when it enters, pretty fair price to pay for the like cascade of value that you get. So where do you want to stick it?
Bare minimum B. I think you could go up above that.
Okay,
A is fine too.
Let's put it above Chatterfang. Send a little message, but I think Muldrotha,
Send a message.
definitely a cool card. I think Dominaria, what a good set that was. That had so many cool legends in it. It had the uncommon legends. It's one of the best draft sets of all time.
Really?
Yeah, just like it was a very slow, like grindy draft format. Divination was good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was core Magic value.
Yeah, really. It tells a lot when you say divination's good.
Yeah, so next is a card that I won't say that Mia built, but it's Nekusar. Mia has a 4-color deck that has Nekusar in it, and that whole deck is basically a Nekusar. Nekusar says you draw an extra card on your draw step, and it deals 1 to you whenever you draw a card. Totally an interesting take on the Wheels deck, on Group Hug / Group Slug, whatever you want to call it. Kind of a sweet one. It's a wacky design, and you know that if Nekusar is at the table, you're going to have a weird game, but not in a way that is like Group Huggy where you don't know what's going to happen. Like, Nekusar is going to try to win.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting, too, that they printed, like, Smothering Tithe outside of the color pie of wheel decks and stuff.
So then you built a 4-color deck.
Of
that is
course.
white, so you could play Smothering Tithe and Wheels.
Yeah, that's
Because
exactly.
you're a fair Magic player. If that deck was here, maybe you would try to, like, fudge the numbers and give it an A. But what would you give Nekusar?
I think he's cool.
I think he is cool.
I think he's really cool.
Bottom of A?
I'd put him in A.
Okay, let's put him in bottom of A. Not because Mia has basically a Nekusar.
I do not. I was like, it's Ishai Vial Smasher. Tell me how many people have that on EDH Rec.
Probably a lot. Tell us in the comments if you have one, and it will humble Mia just a little bit for each comment. Next is Omnath, Locus of Creation. What doesn't this do? It draws a card, and then when your lands enter, you either get 4 life, 4 mana, or deal 4 to each opponent and each planeswalker they control. This is the de facto landfall commander now because it's so many colors and it does so many things. Fetch lands, trigger the mana ability, and then he kind of like replaces himself in mana and cards. So like, what's the downside?
I don't think there is one, so I think it's pretty boring.
Yeah, Joe Cherry's had a deck of Omnath for a while, and they took it apart because they were like, I'm just gonna they couldn't handle spamming Field of the Dead so efficiently. Now, that's something I could never get sick of.
I know.
But I don't have an Omnath deck. I think we should maybe put him in the bottom of C.
Sure.
It feels like that, it's annoying. It's got maybe too many words on it. But I don't think it's like kill it or die.
Yeah, I'm not
Maybe we'll move it
as
above
afraid.
Portal.
Like, I think I would be using my targeted removal on a lot of the other commanders on this list before Omnath.
But you should still pay him attention
Yeah,
to him.
he's a threat, definitely.
He has a presence on board. Good job, Omnath. Next is Prosper. You're casting spells from other than your hand, and you get treasures, and then he is the enabler and the payoff. So you also get to like draw a card with him every turn. So even if you have no synergy, it's like a Phyrexian Arena type thing, except you get access to the card right away, which is slightly better, I think. And he has Death Touch, which is a good blocker. What do you feel about Prosper?
I'm so torn because I think the design is really cool, but since it is an all-in-one package, I think that detracts from it.
Yeah, it detracts from it a little
Coolness-wise.
bit. I don't have a problem playing against Prosper decks.
No.
You just got to keep Prosper off the board. Not immediately, but in a reasonable time frame, or else they're going to start going, make a treasure, impulse draw, make a treasure, impulse draw, make a treasure, and then you're like, should have killed Prosper.
Yeah, and then you have Mayhem Devil out. So.
Yeah, then it's just like devolves from there. So I think Prosper.
I think he's cool.
A solid B.
Yeah.
I find him a little bit cooler than Chatterfang. He's not.
I was like, I think a lot of things are cooler than Chatterfang.
Do you want to demote Chatterfang? Do you think B is too high?
Ooh, maybe.
I think we should demote this fool.
Okay.
People who skip to the end are going to already know that we did this, but people who love Chatterfang are going to be so disappointed. Let's just, wow, yeah. Chatterfang
You
is
put
not,
him so far
he's
down.
not very interesting. There, we'll move him above Corvold. And you know what? We'll move Kenrith down too. Kenrith demoted. I think that's fair. That makes more sense. Because when I look at like Prosper, Muldrotha, Kranko, Edgar, Chatterfang?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got you.
Get out of here. Next is another card that you could read from memory. It's Shorakai. You don't have the commander, but you play this card a lot.
I think it's a really good utility card. It says that if you pay 1 and tap it, you're going to create a 1/1 pilot, and you're going to draw 2, discard 1. And it has Crue, and it's got a big butt, and you're never going to hit with it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, if this tier list, was only based on the design of this card, this would be poop tier, not close. Why would you make a commander that isn't a creature that really you have no reason to make a creature? Like Vehicle Commander, cool idea. Would I ever crew it in a million years? No. I'm just gonna tap it to draw cards and make chump blockers over and over and over. Throw Intruder Alarm in there. Throw Voltaic Key in there. Throw Unwinding Clock in there, and you just go like, it just leaves me going. Why? Like,
it's a great utility card. It's an all-in-one package, which makes it kind of boring. However, if you have a Voltron Shurikai deck, like. Let us know because that's cool.
How does that even? How would that even work? Like you crew it, then equip it, or you put counters on it? Maybe
I don't know. Whatever it is, that would be the cool way to build this. If you're just building this like in the boring way, then I'm not that interested.
It's such a good card, though. It's so really good. Strong.
No, that's why I'm not interested because it's so good.
Where do you think? You know what? I'm gonna ask for an emotion. What emotion does Shurikai evoke from you?
If I see it as a commander, I go, not this again.
No, I need an emotion.
I go like, I'm not gonna say frustration, but I'm like. Hesitant because I know I need to hold up some interaction for like the Intruder Alarm or just to snipe it immediately.
I would say my emotion might be flustered. You know, it's like, okay, I need to make sure that I save an artifact removal for this, or else they're just going to keep it in play for the whole game. It's not going to die to these board wipes.
It'll fold to farewell.
It will fold, like many things. It will fold to farewell. Do you think D tier? Is this Go Shintai levels of uninteresting?
Here's the bar. Do we think Chatterfang's more interesting than it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I do actually.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is Go Shintai. It's too good.
It's too good for me to give it a free pass. And the design is awful. The design is so weird. Next, you were mentioning dragons don't need support, and that's because they have Dragon, a 5-color permanent cost reduction on dragons because it works in the command zone like all cards should.
Yeah, and then when it attacks, you're going to get a free permanent onto the battlefield, of course.
If it attacks.
Yeah,
that's so much mana. Let me just leave it in the command zone. The fact that you get to reduce your entire curve of creatures by 1 is really strong. It's kind of like Giada in that it's exactly what dragons need to be more viable because they're so expensive. It's so much mana. It's hard to double spell when you cast 2 dragons. But now, on turn 6... you can cast 2 4-mana dragons and just go 3/3, and that's like saving a lot of mana and a lot of tempo.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon is so good. There's a reason it's still so expensive, even though it's been reprinted in like Commander Masters and the Secret Lair and everywhere else. You know,
this feels like a Edgar situation where it just goes in B tier. The Eminence keeps it down. It's not interactable. It's not the best design, but it's a kind of ends up being a fair card, I think.
Yeah, I do. I'm happy you put it a little bit lower than Edgar, just because I think that his ability when he comes out on the field is way better than Edgar's.
Yeah, when he's in play, he probably has haste because it's so late in the game. You're playing dragons, you want them to have haste. You're gonna play like Fires of Yavimaya, so then he just comes in and just
versus just like, oh, I guess my stuff can have 1/1 counters.
Yeah,
no trample or anything.
All right, so let's see. We've seen angels, dinosaurs, elves. I'll say maybe Kalia is like pick one of those demons, vampires, goblins. And squirrels payoffs. Now we also have and dragons again. And now we also have zombies to add to that list with Wilhelt, really strong commander, but also very fair. When your zombies die, you get decayed zombies, and then you can draw cards at the end of your turn. They've really mastered the formula for precon commanders. Maybe I'm going to ruin precon commanders for you now, but at least for a very substantial span of time, precon commanders were 4 mana. Do something with your deck and draw a card in some way. Prosper was one. Wilhelt was one. Lenore was one. There's a lot like it. So if you look for that formula, it's kind of a little bit less interesting, just in a broader perspective. But Wilhelt's still sweet.
I mean, I think that's what makes the commanders really good in precons in general, which is why there's a ton of them on here, like Kali and Lathril and stuff, because they ask you to do something with your deck, and they come down pretty early. I think Wilhelt is also sweet, though.
Yeah, what do you, like...
I'm happy to put him in, like, A.
This is a separate gripe. This isn't a gripe with Wilhelt. It's with zombie decks. Zombie decks go infinite.
Very easily.
Very easily. So sometimes it's hard to not go infinite with a zombie deck, and... that makes them like inherently more of a threat. I know you have Rooftop Storm. Before you say you don't have an infinite, I know you have Rooftop Storm on your deck. I know you have Gravecrawl on your deck, and I know you have a Sack Owl on your deck. That's already infinite, and you can do many, many, many things with that. I mean, Wilhelt alone, that's infinite decayed zombies. So, plus infinite of whatever your Sack Owl says, like if it's a counter or a scry. So Wilhelt can be very, very strong, but I'm not going to blame Wilhelt for that conundrum. Do you want to put him in like bottom of A?
Yeah, we could put him in bottom of A.
Maybe he's a little bit better than Atraxa.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, he's cooler than Atraxa for sure. The lore for him is he's in love with Gisa.
What?
he like hits her up, but he's a zombie. And she's like, no, dude,
Bruh.
stop.
Did she reanimate him?
I think that might be the case.
Oh, that's a little weirder.
Or you know what? He might have been like her old boyfriend or something, and he like kept that after he died. I think that's super funny.
It's funny.
You're not answering my texts.
I'm gonna come back to life. Now you'll answer them.
Now you'll answer them. Yuriko.
Poop.
Yuriko is ninjas. Yuriko is on par with Eminence as one of the worst design mechanics because Commander Ninjutsu is not taxed. So you have to constantly be on the lookout for all these rinky-dink 1/1s that the deck can fill itself with because there's no tax on the ninjutsu, which means you can constantly do it whenever there's an unblocked creature, and it only ever costs 2. And it says whenever a ninja hits, you flip top card of your deck, and each opponent loses life equal to its mana value, then it goes in your hand. So, like, fill your deck with Time Walks and big, expensive spells or spells you can cast for alternate ways that cost a lot, or cards that have aftermaths, and they combine the mana value on top of your library. It gets annoying because I would say against Yuriko, every single game, she will be out on turn 2 because that's the whole deck, right? They play 11 1-drops that can't be blocked.
Yeah, I really agree with Gavin when he said Commander Ninjutsu was a mistake in the design. And I think that these decks are pretty boring because of it. I think that if she just had when a ninja hits, you're going to be doing, flipping the top, losing the life. I think that's fun. I think that if the Commander Ninjutsu was taxed, that would also be fine. This would be a lot higher. But I have this solo in my mind considering it's so easy to keep bringing back out.
Yeah, I don't find Yuriko decks fun. I don't think I've really ever... I'm not saying you have to build decks so that I have fun, but I'm just saying I've never had fun against a Yuriko deck. It's always like, we are under pressure, we got to kill them, and sometimes... if you can keep all those rinky dinks off the battlefield, the spectral sailors, they can't do anything. Their deck just like dies. And it's almost like I feel bad because that's just kind of what the commander kind of forces those types of games.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too because I played against a Yuriko deck and it's just kind of random and it had like weird high mana artifacts in it or something. Like it wasn't just the Shadows of Mortality and the Dracos and stuff, but it just had like 8-drop artifacts just because it's like I'm hoping to get that. But I think the ones that are like Chain of Vapor, oh, this person's behind because they only have one creature, bounce it, cool. And then it's like, okay, I'll hit you, and oh, I have Scroll Rack, I'm gonna put like Temporal Trespass on the top of my library. I think that's so boring.
Yeah, the thing that we don't have to be all negative. The thing I like about Yuriko is they finally did a ninjas commander that makes sense, and the Commander Ninjutsu was a good idea. They just kind of only half thought they only thought about halfway through because it just needed to be taxed. But like Ninjutsu from the command zone is super cool, and then it says whenever a ninja hits, so you have an incentive to build ninjas, and it all is like it's like they just tripped at the finish line. This card is a home run, except it's unstoppable accidentally. So I'm gonna just, as a firm stance on how awful Commander Ninjutsu is, I am going to just stick it in a poop tier.
You said Yuriko, and I immediately said poop to the camera, so I think it's very obvious where I fall.
Yeah, it's very obvious where you stood on that. Yuriko, kind of butts. This is actually it. This is the definitive tier list of every commander that's the most popular. If your commander is, if you think it was too low or too high, no, it wasn't. But let me know in the comments.
Charfang is exactly where it needs to be, maybe lower.
Yeah, so let us know what do you guys think. I would love to hear like your different experiences. Maybe you've only had fun against like a Shurikai deck, or you think it's awesome. Definitely want to hear about that. There's other tier lists you can watch too on this channel, like the one that's right in front of your face. Click it, or you're gonna miss out because this video is ending right now.